Good afternoon. This is the Green Room. Daniel Hege is here. He is the maestro of the Wichita Symphony Orchestra. They are preparing their next Masterworks concert featuring Gabriela Martinez on Rachmaninoff second and a couple of really fascinating pieces that will be new to so many people in the audience. Good afternoon, Daniel.
Good afternoon, Caitlin, and everyone out there. Great to be with you again.
The concert is February the 18th. That is Sunday at 3 o'clock in Century 2 Concert Hall. People
Mhm.
can read all about it at wichitasymphony.org. I'm
Yes.
really interested in hearing about, well, obviously we are going to talk about the Rachmaninoff because how can you not? But I'm really fascinated in these other two pieces on the concert.
Mhm. First of all, we're starting off the program with a piece for strings and harp called Primal Message. And this is written recently, just in the last few years, by a friend of mine. Her name is Nokatula Ngwenyama. She has her parentage is of African descent and Japanese. She's an American. I knew her as a friend when she was a violist. She still is a violist, but she rose to prominence playing solos with orchestras around the world as a viola soloist and also plays violin. And it was only recently that I learned about her compositions. And I listened to this Primal Message, which was actually written during the pandemic because the instrumentation allows for that, because there's string players and a harp. And she also has a version that has some percussion in it as well. All of those musicians can be masked and can still play their instrument, as opposed to
Yeah.
being winds and brass. So that's why during the pandemic, this is the piece that came up. And basically, Primal Message is about interstellar kind of communication. If we were to receive information from another star's solar system, from other planets coming to us, she's always been very interested in science fiction and the writings of Carl Sagan and astronomers as far back as Francis Drake, asking questions about, are there other beings out there that could communicate with us? And so, eh, believe me, the piece is very lush and melodic. It doesn't sound like they're trying to make special effects kind of sounds like going out into outer space, but it's a very deeply communicative work, and it's about 9 minutes long. So it's a beautiful starter for the program. And then we move to Paul Hindemith's piece called it's called Matisse der Maler. That is the German title of it, but if you translated that, it would be Matthias the Painter. Maler, Mahler. It means painter in German. So I just don't want people to get confused
Like it's a
that we're
tribute to
playing
Gustav
Mahler. We
Mahler.
are not playing Gustav Mahler in this concert. We are not. We are playing Gustav Mahler in our final concert of this season in April, Mahler's first symphony. So you don't want to miss that. Mahler's a great, great composer. In this case, the piece is by Paul Hindemith. He was a 20th century composer, and he was asked to write this piece in 1934 about a piece. It's a work that was written to honor Matthias Grunewald, who was a great Renaissance painter from Germany. We can talk more about that later. Then the second half of the program is the second piano concerto of Rachmaninoff with Gabby Martinez coming into play, and looking so forward to that again.
But back to Primal Message for Strings, it really strikes me when you talk about the origins of the work, when it was first composed. Now that we're a few years outside of lockdown, it's amazing how much music was composed with
Yes.
those specific parameters. We're going to
Right.
compose a piece for chamber ensemble that can be masked and meet in a large auditorium, or I'm going to compose a piece that we're going to play together over Zoom. And now we're seeing these pieces pop up in the concert halls. And it's amazing, to think about, well, we were there at these, where these were just a thought in a composer's mind during a very trying time. And now we're seeing them performed. It's pretty neat.
It is pretty neat, because why should those, I mean, just because were the parameters at the time that it was composed doesn't mean that we have to wait for some other lockdown in the future, to play.
Yeah, let's
So
not.
they're very good works of music, and
Yeah.
those particular parameters are the things that were in play at that time. But
I actually found a recording and we're going to listen to a little bit of Primal Message for Strings
oh,
so
great.
people can kind of really grasp what they're about to hear. When we talk about interstellar, something that, evocative of space, that it doesn't scare them away. We're going to hear really just how pretty it is. And we'll be
Great.
back in just a few minutes.
Okay, fantastic.
I think that's so gorgeous. That is Primal Message for Strings by Nokotula Ngwenyama, the composer being highlighted on psych. Daniel's giving me a thumbs up because we just had a lesson off the air about how I was going to pronounce her name and I wanted to make sure I got it correct. That piece of music kicks off this Sunday afternoon's Masterworks with the Wichita Symphony. For information, go to wichitasymphony.org or call the box office 316-267-7658. So this starts the concert, and then we have some Paul Hindemith,
Yes.
and then Sergei Rachmaninoff's second piano concerto. Just you could call it one of the most popular pieces of music to ever be composed. It's a favorite of so many.
Oh, yeah.
That second movement, especially, it's just, it's everything.
Yeah. People who don't know classical music hear the Rachmaninoff second and say, I know that one. And they don't have to even know the title. People might say, actually, I don't think I know Rachmaninoff second. And then when they hear the music, they say, yes, I do know that. So a lot of times this has to do with just knowing titles of pieces. So people should just rest assured that you will have heard this at some point in your life. It's been used as soundtrack to movies. It's just ubiquitous through our culture. It's one of those things you can't avoid in a way. And the interesting thing is that piece became so well known almost immediately after it was composed at 1900, and this followed a very dry period for Sergei Rachmaninoff when he was a young composer. He was actually trying to decide, do I want to be a professional pianist or do I want to be a professional composer? Of course, he ended up doing both, but he really wanted to make his mark as a composer, and he wrote his first symphony in the late 1890s, and that was panned by the critics, and people basically just gave it a big thumbs down, mostly the critics, and that wounded him deeply.
I love this story because it's such a story of resilience and triumph. And
It
he was in
is.
this deep depression, and
He was.
it is, and he was. I'm just going to keep
Go.
reiterating the story with you because I love it so much. He was in therapy, and
Yeah.
or he saw a hypnotist too as part of his
Mhm.
treatment. And his hypnotist, they had a mantra, during their time together, the work they did, and it was something wonderful. Like, the next best thing, the next thing I compose is going to be my magnum opus. The next thing is going to bring me success and triumph and pull me out. And
Mhm.
sure enough, here he composes the second piano concerto.
It was one of these techniques too that he was supposed to use by the doctor, Dr. Dahl, told him to look into the mirror and tell himself that he is a great composer and that he will write melodies that people will love, and his next work will be a triumph, and it will
Yes,
be one of the most beloved works ever. And I kind of chuckle at this because if you see pictures of Rachmaninoff, he looks like he would be the first one to scoff at something like that, because he has a very kind of almost every picture you see of him, he has this big grimace on his face, and he just doesn't look like he would take that seriously, that kind of
yes,
therapy. But he did it, and sure enough, all of that came to pass. It is one of the most popular pieces
it
ever written.
is. And I don't
And
know, there's, and what's the law of attraction is big these days. People have been talking, now for maybe a decade about the importance of the law of attraction. And it's kind of in fashion to have these mantras and repeat to yourself,
yeah,
these positive, self-compassionate, positive self-talk. And there's good old Rachmaninoff showing us how it's done.
doing it and having lived it. I mean,
Yeah,
he actually succeeded in that way. And it's probably the best example we can come up with, for that kind of therapy. But the piece is about 30 minutes long, and it is just filled with lush, beautiful orchestra textures, virtuosic piano playing, and gorgeous melodies and harmonies. It's just, it's a great work. And we're bringing back Gabriela Martinez for this concert. She was with us before years ago playing Prokofiev second. And to bring her back to play Rachmaninoff second is a real joy to get to work with her again. She's from Venezuela, actually. She lives in the States, but she's originally from Venezuela.
it'll be an exciting concert, and really kind of this thread of inspiration, finding inspiration in the stars, inspiration in art.
Mhm.
inspiration in oneself. It should be really moving and beautiful. And I'm excited for all of us who get to experience some new music too.
I want to just say for the Hindemith, which is going to be on the first half of the concert, it's about 26 minutes long and it's in three movements. It is really like a short symphony by Paul Hindemith, a great German composer from the 20th century. And there were parts of the John Williams program that I just conducted that remind me of Hindemith, or Hindemith reminds me of John Williams. So if anyone likes John Williams music, the writing for the brass and the strings, and the drama that's in the music, they will like this Paul Hindemith piece very much. It's very dramatic music, and I think it's perfect to play on the first half before we hear Rachmaninoff.
The next Masterworks is Sunday at 3 o'clock, this Sunday, February the 18th. For tickets, go to wichitasymphony.org, or you can call the box office. That phone number is 316-267-7658.
And we
And if
will
you
have a pre-concert talk at 2 o'clock.
at come early at 2 o'clock because we talk all about the music, a little in depth, and it's always fun. I think it's fun.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. I
Mhm.
enjoy it. So be there early to hear a half-hour talk at 2 o'clock this Sunday.
Thank you for being here, Daniel, and have a good week of rehearsals
Thank
and a
you.
wonderful concert.
Thank you, Caitlin.
Mhm.
We'll see you at the
Yeah.
concert.
Oh, yeah. Bye.